Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jonah from Teachable, and we have the delight and privilege of getting to talk to and learn from Lauren Kay today. Lauren, how are you doing?
I am doing very well. And yourself, Jonah?
I am doing so good. I love doing these events and was delighted to get the chance to have you with us. For everyone watching, hop in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from, what you're excited to learn about, whether you came from hearing about this event from Lauren or from Teachable. Also, we love hearing like where you are in your process, if you have an email list, if you have a business, if you're just interested, just getting started. And also for those who may watch the replay, do the same. We do come back to those comments. We love hearing from you. Try and answer your questions, keep up with everything. Lauren is going to teach us all about how she built a email list of 25K in under a year, which I'm very excited to dig into. If you have any questions throughout, pop them in the comments. We'll answer everything at the end. We'll have some time for a Q&A, so throw them in there. I'll star them. I'm not ignoring you if we don't answer right away. We'll get to them at the end. And Lauren, just before we dive into your lesson for us all today, can you just give us a brief description, who you are, what your business is, and kind of like why you're here today, what you're going to teach us?
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much for having me on today, Jonah. And thank you so much to everyone for joining. Really excited to dive in. So I am a young adult author. My debut novel came out with HarperCollins a year ago, and I hopped on social media to promote it and ended up growing my dream business. And now full time, I get to support writers who are looking to become traditionally published authors. And I also have a background running my own startups, so this wasn't completely new to me, but hopping into digital marketing, social media, and email list growth were pretty new. And so I'm really excited to discuss my journey today.
Beautiful. Well, I'll bring up your slides. We can dive in. And throughout, once again, everyone, feel free to drop your comments, any questions. And we have any of the links that Lauren references as well throughout are in the description. They'll also come to you in an email afterwards. But yeah, let's dive in and get going.
Awesome. All right, so today I'm going to discuss how I gained over 25,000 email subscribers. So a little over a year ago, I only had a few hundred, and then I developed this three-part strategy, which just skyrocketed my growth. So I gave a little hello before, but hi, if you're just joining now, I'm Lauren. I'm a young adult author. I am a creator, and I'm a toddler mom, and I live in Brooklyn. And I absolutely love diving into hard problems and then immediately talking about them with everyone I know, which is why I was so excited to chat today. I think email list growth is super, super important. You hear about it a lot, but I didn't ever really see really specific strategies into how to do it. So that's what I'm going to talk about now. So just a little background on me. I'm not going to go through all of this, but my work path, as I was just discussing with Jonah, has not exactly been linear. I started out in startups sort of accidentally back when I was in college. I took a dating startup through the Tech Accelerator Y Combinator. Then I completely burnt out by the time that I was 26. I ended up freelancing as a tutor, having a lot more free time, which allowed me to pursue a lifelong dream of writing a book. As I mentioned, that book came out last year, and I was told by my agent and my publisher that if I wanted to get the word out there, social media was the best way to do that. I was really, really terrified to do that, but I had the time and I decided to go all in. So this was the size of my email list back in July of last year. I had under 500 subscribers, and even that was a really big number. And that was because of one Medium blog post that I spent weeks writing that drove those subscribers. So without that blog post, I would have had like 30. But even of those subscribers, I remember thinking, I'm going to launch my book and I'm going to send an email to this list and get so many sales. And I never used the list because I didn't want to bother anyone. And I only used it once in like 3 years to announce that my book was coming out. Surprise, surprise. I got maybe one sale from that entire list. So I was just going about email list growth, but also using my email list entirely wrong. So today, although I started with nearly no followers a little over a year ago on social media, I now have over 60,000 on Instagram, over 40,000 on TikTok. And then even more importantly to me, as much as social media is great, having a big following does not necessarily mean that you are going to be able to do what you love and make a living from it. But your email list is where that comes in. And so in addition to those followings, I was also able to really grow my list. It's now at nearly 30,000. So when I first started on social, I thought I'd have a few viral videos. Maybe I'd show my cat or my baby. I'd get 1 million views, and then I would hit the New York Times bestseller list. And what actually happened was, even though I did have some videos take off, in those initial months, I had a pre-sale list of maybe 150 books that my friends and family bought. And I saw that number inch up by about 10. And those 10 people who bought those books, the best people alive, but expectations did not match reality. And so while I saw that my videos where I was providing the value that my audience wanted, those got views. So that one had 500,000. I thought I could grow this audience. And then when I did have something to promote, like my online course or my book coming out, that then my followers would be really engaged. And you'll see this was a post about my masterclass, which was free. And it had 5,500 views. And the thing is that when you are trying to promote something on social media, even if you have a gigantic following, it is very, very, very rare that a promotional post is going to get a lot of engagement. So even with a big following, they're just not going to see when you have something to promote, just because of the type of content that tends to work with the algorithm. So social media, though, is still really, really important. It's about growing your community. It's an amazing path for discovery, but it is about leads. And you need a middle step between getting those leads and actually promoting your product or services or books. And so that is your email list. And to grow your email list, the best way to do that is by having a lead magnet or freebie, same thing. And so initially I thought, okay, I just create something for free and I will get tons of signups, right? Well, not exactly, right? People's most valuable resource is their time. People are really used to seeing lead magnets and knowing that that service wants their email. And you want to keep your email inbox at least slightly clean and not flooded with promotional emails. So people are really savvy, and they're not just going to sign up for a freebie just because it's free. Nothing in life is truly free. So when you are creating this lead magnet, there are 3 things you really want to focus on. And so this is my 3-part strategy that I developed over the last year. The first is you want to make sure you are providing real value, not just a lead magnet full of a lot of fluff. The second is that you want to provide content that your audience actually wants, not just what you think they might want or what you yourself want. And the third is that you want to conduct research to figure out the best information to include in this lead magnet, and that you're not necessarily going to hit a home run the first time and just make one freebie and be all set. You want to continuously test. So first, when I say provide real value, you don't want to just package up information that you could super easily find online. Yes, what you're providing is free, but you still want it to be incredibly valuable. So the way that I generally do things is, if I'm making a freebie, I want to make sure that that freebie is providing at least 100, if not a few $100 of value. And if I am selling something for $100, I want to make sure that provides $500 or $1,000 of value. And you think of, sorry, my cat might be jumping in my lap, but the way I see a lead magnet is it's sort of like an open house. You want to get a lot of people to your open house. And then when they're there, you don't want to show them a pigsty. Like, I don't want to show you the part of my apartment that is not currently in the screen. You want to show them a beautiful home so that they walk around and want to engage more and maybe even want to buy the home. And so you really want to make sure that you are adding value. And you're also using this as a way to build trust with your audience. Maybe they've discovered you on social media, but now they are taking time out of their really busy day to spend time with the content you have created. So you want to make sure it's really, really strong content. So when it comes to building your lead magnet, I know it can seem really overwhelming. I have definitely downloaded some and been like, how would I ever create that? And then when I really dug into Canva, I was like, wow, like you don't even need a graphic designer anymore. They are great, but if you're just starting out, you can be your own graphic designer. Canva can be a little overwhelming because there are a lot of templates there. So I, of course, have a lead magnet for today's workshop. And in that lead magnet, which I think is in the description in YouTube, you will be able to get a list of my favorite designs that Canva has for lead magnets, both because they're designed really well, but also because they are really simple. When it comes to good design, sometimes things that are beautiful because of the assets that they already have. So maybe they have a professional photo shoot. So you don't want to use a design that requires you, sorry, my cat's butt is in the video. She's very needy today. You don't want to use a design that requires you to have an entire brand photo shoot if you don't already have those photos. So I picked some really simple ones that are beautiful if you just put the right information into them. Okay, so next, with providing content that your audience actually wants, you want to speak and listen to your audience. So if you have a social media presence, one of the best ways that I have gotten ideas for my lead magnets is by reading through and engaging with all of the comments that people have left on my videos, especially the questions and the follow-up questions, or when they point out a really specific part of a video. I'm listening, I'm paying attention, and I'm saying, ooh, this is where I can't provide enough value in just a really short clip. I should make an additional resource. Also with DMing people and just talking directly and figuring out what they want and not what you think they want, which even though you might be close with an assumption, I know so many times I have had startups where I've thought, this is exactly what someone wants. And it might be in the realm of the universe, but it's not the exact straight path. Usually I'm like 10 steps ahead of what they want. And they're like, wait, I just want like the introductory piece. So that's why it's super, super important to actually talk to them. So my first try with my lead magnet actually wasn't that bad. I got a few hundred signups from people who are already coming to my content. And I saw that they had questions about the book template, the outlining template that I had made for myself in Miro when I was procrastinating writing, as I so often do. So I threw that into this lead magnet that just contained a bunch of my favorite resources. And it was a good start. I really didn't have to spend more than an hour designing it, but it wasn't enough to keep continuously growing my list. Once my audience had seen it and downloaded it, this wasn't the type of piece that was going to go viral. This was just a nice freebie to have as a pop-up on my site and to link in some of my initial videos. So from there, it was really about figuring out what worked for me and for my audience. And what I saw time and time again on every single social platform was that my videos on Scrivener, which is a piece of writing software, were constantly taking off. And it was because so many people had maybe heard of it, but didn't know enough about it, or they were confused by it. And so my video often introduced them to it, but then they wanted more. They wanted to know, okay, Lauren, how do I actually use this? Because when I open it up, I know I'm saying overwhelming over and over, but that's what a lot of things are to me and to people I connect with. Scrivener was extremely overwhelming. And so what I first tried to do was make this like 2-minute video in TikTok where I squeezed in my entire tutorial. That wasn't what people wanted. So then I packaged it up into a PDF and I started attaching that where you could comment on my video and get that. And then my list grew by thousands of subscribers. And I also included a link to my YouTube tutorial, which pretty immediately took off as well, because I was listening to what people wanted, which was a really in-depth tutorial of just the top features that they needed to be using. So if you have a social media presence and you have content that is performing well, I always recommend investing time into making a lead magnet that is directly related to the piece of content that is getting hundreds of thousands or millions of views. Otherwise, you're getting that. Maybe you're getting some followers from it, but you're wasting that potential to grow your email list, which is much better for your business or whatever you are creating than to just add followers. If you don't have a social media presence, which was me a little over a year ago, and which is most people and totally okay, you still really want to talk to your audience and learn what kind of information they are looking for. So I recommend getting on calls with people, get on calls with friends, ask them for friends that they can recommend, and sit and interview them, write down what they are saying, and make content that directly speaks to them. So third, what you want to be doing is researching and testing. So it can take a long time to make a lead magnet as well as to make social media content around that. So you want to make sure that you are investing your time wisely. And so for that, you want to do research on the types of things that people are searching for, and also the types of topics where there isn't already a mountain's worth of content out there that is actually helpful to people. And so this, to me, was the biggest surprise and the biggest boost to my list growth was when I started using my SEO research to inform the lead magnets and the social media content that I was creating. So SEO is search engine optimization. And that's what people do when they want their website to show up higher on Google. They might make blog posts on certain topics and have different keywords in the hopes of ranking higher. Google has gotten a lot more advanced with their algorithm. And it actually, I found, mirrors the algorithms of Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, which is if you're making content that people actually want to see, and it's really valuable and people like it and they spend time reviewing it, you're likely to show up pretty high. There used to be a lot of black hat tricks to keyword stuffing and metadata. But what I found is I haven't had to do any of that. If I have a piece of content on Scrivener that performs really well on Instagram, it will also perform really well on YouTube, and it will also perform really well in Google. So once I had that piece on Scrivener, I was like, how do I find my other Scriveners? How do I find other topics that I could rank highly on, especially if I'm competing against, very large and established corporations? So then it came time to doing SEO research. So the research isn't like you just plug in writer and it tells you what things to try to rank for. SEO is a combination of data as well as creativity. It's sort of like when you use ChatGPT, the quality of the output that you get from that is really directly correlated to how savvy you are with the information that you give it and the types of questions that you ask. So the way that I start my SEO research is with this prompt that I enter into ChatGPT, which is, of course, also included if you sign up for my lead magnet. I will send this your way. And so this is when I say, I am a writer, author, and creator who helps writers towards their goal of becoming traditionally published authors. I'm an expert in Scrivener, how to land a literary agent, and the 7-point plot structure. Please think creatively and come up with a list of 25 potential seed keywords, both big picture and specific, for me to use in SEMrush to generate SEO-worthy content that would appeal to my audience, and then display the entries in a table that I can export to Google Sheets. I recently realized you could ask ChatGPT for that. So there's a lot here, so let me break this down. So for seed keywords, I am looking for just general topics or content verticals like literary agent or writing software. And then SEMrush is a service. It's pretty expensive, but they have a 7-day free trial. So I recommend trying to do all of your SEO research at once. And what this does is you can plug in the seed keyword, which I'll show you shortly, and then get a list of like all of the related keywords to that seed keyword, along with really valuable data on how popular it is as a search term and how competitive that search term is. So what I do, I have a spreadsheet template. Don't worry, everything that you would need is included in my lead magnet. But I have this template, my SEO project manager, where I track all of the seed keyword suggestions from ChatGPT. And that's iterative. I'm going back and forth with ChatGPT and brainstorming, just dumping everything that I can think of into ChatGPT and asking for seed keyword suggestions. And I'm putting them into this spreadsheet. And then from there, I'm going to SEMrush and I'm going to their keyword magic tool and I'm entering one seed keyword at a time. I'm not going to do all of them, but I'm going to do ones that show up that I think would be helpful and appealing to my audience. And so, maybe just writing a book. And then from there, I get all related keywords and keyword phrases along with their search volume. So, how many times it's an estimate, how many times it's searched per month, and then the keyword difficulty score. So, in a nutshell, the way you want to think about this is writing a book. It's got a lot of search volume, but the difficulty is 34. So, that's moderate. So you don't just want to pick the terms that have the most search volume. You want the mix of it's getting volume, but a lot of other people aren't going after it. So that's what I was looking for. And so then you're just going back and forth, and you're plugging your seed keywords into SEMrush, and you're getting a list of all the keywords, you're exporting that, and you're adding it to your Google Sheet. And then in my template, I came up with a formula that I invented. It's not, super research-based, but it was good enough to work for my needs. And so I included the search volume, the how competitive the keyword was, and then I added in 2 more factors that you're not going to be able to just research. You have to estimate them for yourself. So the first is, would this actually appeal to my target demographic? So for instance, one keyword that came up that had high search volume and low competition was how to apply for, I want to say it was like the Panem Writing Fellowship, which clearly I'm not an expert on because I don't even remember if that was what it was. But it was a writing fellowship. And while some of my audience applies to fellowships and goes to MFAs, not all of them do. A lot are just starting out as writers, and a lot have other jobs in addition to that, and they're not looking to apply to fellowships. So that got a lower score for, is this my actual target demographic, my audience? And then I ranked my success probability. Yes, this will appeal to my audience, but am I the right person to be talking about it? Am I likely to have a video take off on it? For Panem Fellowship, no, I don't even know. Actually, I think it was Cave Canem. I don't even know the word. Clearly, I don't have authority on that, so I would rank that as a 0. So I went through a lot of keywords. And what came up was the Save the Cat beat sheet, which Save the Cat is a formula for how to write a book or a screenplay, and it breaks it down act by act and beat by beat. And I had talked about plot structure in my videos before. I knew people were interested, but I didn't realize there was such specific interest in this exact formula and the beat sheet. And when I looked around online, I was like, oh, there isn't a really great, modern spreadsheet that just automatically does this. And when it came to my likelihood of success, I was like, I love making spreadsheets. I love designing them. I love automating them. So let's give it a go. So what I did was I created a value-packed resource. Once again, you don't just want a bunch of people signing up for your lead magnet only to walk into your open house and be disappointed. You want them to be blown away by whatever free content you're providing. So I made that. And then you want a way to actually promote your resource. So for me, Instagram Reels is just the best way of doing that. So I made this video. And so you'll see this has a very specific formula, which I could talk about and fill up an entire other workshop on. But in general, for free resources, I have tested a few things, and me sitting and explaining the free resource, that doesn't take off. If it's just me showing the free resource for like 3 seconds, it's too short to really rank highly enough and get enough view time. And so I found that if you present a common problem that people have, you have a few seconds, you have a catchy song, and then you show your resource in a visual way. And so if you can make a resource that is visual to begin with, that's really, really going to help that these types of real plus lead magnet combos have really, really been effective. And so for this one, just as the research predicted, it exploded my business. This was, I believe, February. Maybe I had 20,000 followers then. It added on just from that one video over 7,500 followers. And now that resource has gotten nearly 9,000 signups, which, like, that alone is an entire business. So I recognize what you're saying, that this is definitely a lot of work. But for me, having run businesses in the past, to just, not that it's just one resource and one video, but the fact that one resource and one video can lead to an entire business, can lead to having enough client leads for a year or years to come, that's wild. Like in other companies I used to have to do all of these things to try to get press. I was in the New York Times twice, and I didn't get nearly as many signups from a feature in the New York Times style section as I did from one 7-second Instagram reel. So that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this, because even if you don't do all of this and you just do a small bit, even getting 10 or 20 newsletter signups can be huge depending on, the industry that you're in. So if what you do doesn't work, don't just say that was a failure. You want to continuously test out videos and lead magnets, which is also why I generally suggest making sure you have success with a video before you pour the time and energy into a lead magnet. And then when your audience is on your list, it's not just hi and bye, you got your free resource, now buy from me. No, no, no. Now they're in your home. You want to be the best, most polite host, and you want to keep educating them. So on my list for writers, I send out one newsletter a week where I'm really honing in on one thing, like how to edit your first draft. And in that email, there's no sales. I'm happy that they're there. I'm happy that they're letting me into their inbox. And I want them to continue getting to know me and my team and my brand. And I know that writing these weekly newsletters can feel, once again, overwhelming. So I suggest starting out once a month. And also, it doesn't have to be, right? It's okay if you take a month off. Once a month. And also know that whatever you're doing, whether you are a fantasy writer or you are selling table coasters, you are so much more of an expert in your area than you realize. So even sitting for 15 or 20 minutes and sharing info about one topic can be incredibly helpful. You don't have to spend hours and hours each week on the newsletter. You just have to do your best to provide value based on what you know. So thank you so much for letting me share this information with you and taking time out of your day to join. So my ChatGPT prompt and my spreadsheet where I track my seed keywords and keywords is in this free lead magnet guide. I also have a step-by-step tutorial there on what I do once I actually create the resource. How I create my sign-up form using ConvertKit, which is the email list builder that I use that I love, and then how I share that on a reel and use ManyChat, which is the service that automates when someone comments, they automatically message them the link to your resource. So with that, I'd love to return this to Jonah and dive into some questions.
Yeah, Lauren, thank you so much. And for everyone watching, please drop any questions in the comments. I wanted to use Christina this wasn't a question, but just such a good jumping off point. Christina said, so this is a lot of work. and I need to learn how to make all the effort to have more engagement and subscribers. For someone that is like running this on the side of their primary business or doesn't have a whole lot of time, I think the hardest thing is just like knowing where your effort is best spent
Mhm.
at what stage. So it sounded like Christina also said um, they have a bit of a list. It's offering quick self-editing tips, author interviews, and book reviews. For someone who has a list but is really looking to grow it, um, where do you think their time is best spent of all these things you've given, or like laying it out kind of step by step?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that question and for those comments, Christina. I really think it depends on what you do and what your goals are, and trying not to do everything at once. Because when we try to do everything at once, we often get not the results that we were hoping for. So my audience is authors, and a lot of them are also authors and freelancers, or they're authors who are either looking to get traditionally or self-published, and they're looking to grow a platform, and they might also be parents and have full-time jobs. So there's just so much overwhelm of feeling like you should do this all at once. So this is why I generally suggest it's never too early to start an email list, because they can take a while to grow. But if you are currently in the building phase, and that might be writing a book, that might be starting your business, focus on making whatever your product is and making it the very best it can be, because you only have so much creative energy in a
Mm.
day or a week to spend. Once that product is created, then it's time to switch over into marketing and starting to think about the lead magnet and the email list growth. And while this is a lot of work, the results that you get when you do it correctly are just such a huge multiple of not doing this much work, but doing it for an extensive period of time and seeing no results.
Do you have any it's interesting you say that because I've kind of heard two philosophies and you see them out there in play of like go build a big audience and then make a product, which I think the advantage there of having any audience is you can kind of poll them for a product if you
Mhm.
don't know what your product is going to be. You're coming from more of the philosophy of like have some product first. Do you Can you expand on like if you really feel strongly about one or the other, or advantages, disadvantages from your experience?
Yeah, so I think definitely there's an argument to be made for both sides, because a lot of my audience consists of writers, and I know there are definitely writers here today. I definitely want writers, get your book done before you worry too much about social media and marketing. Publishing is slow, and if you do traditionally publish, you've got a big gap between getting that book deal and getting the book out into the world, which is when you can use the time to write your next book or market. And but in terms of building your audience and then figuring out what they want, it can also work if you are a natural audience builder. If you're a marketer, you love being on camera, you love making videos, you have that extra time, but it can take a really, really long time to build an audience. And sometimes you build one and then you realize like there's no business there. And then how
Yeah.
can you keep, social media is a full-time job. So while it can be fun, it is a business. So if you do all of that work, there are people who have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers and they still can't afford to do that work full time. So that's why I'm more of a planner than a
Sure.
yeah, middle pantser, which is a writing term. So I like to have a plan going in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and not to push Teachable too much right now, but that is one thing we try and make people aware of is they might have an audience but don't know how to monetize it. Like, what are the things? So it makes total sense that putting in the thought about your product first could also help you grow an audience that actually wants to buy things from you.
Mhm.
Um, Safa had a great question here. I hope I'm saying your name right there. But first off, thanking you, Lauren, for sharing your experience. And then the question is, I've heard this around a lot of like art stuff, like musicians, authors. When you're a self-publishing author and your target is readers, what do you suggest to do to get them into your newsletter? How do you make that value gap from like your product to your platform?
Yes. Safa, thank you so much for asking this question, because I was going to mention this and then forgot, so I really appreciate you. So one of my good friends, Lauren, runs the amazing account Book Huddle. It's at Let's Book Huddle on Instagram, and then I believe just Book Huddle on TikTok. And she's grown a huge following and a huge newsletter list. When she has a book to release out to the world, she is going to have the most fantastic, engaged, gigantic audience waiting right for it. And so the way she grew a newsletter list around that is she built a community around people who love romantasy and Sarah J. Maas books. And her lead magnet is, when you're done reading Sarah J. Maas, what do you read next? Which is like
Oh,
everyone's
that's
top
great.
question. They're so depressed when they finish and they want an expert source the next books to read. And I asked her for permission. I was like, is it okay if I just share with everyone a copy of that? Because I've thought about this a lot. You know, if you're just looking to promote your author business as opposed to supporting other writers, right? Like for me, I love supporting other writers. Some of them do buy my book, which is very nice, but it is a young adult book. It's not a one-to-one overlap with audience. So if you're just looking to sell books, I say, don't copy what I'm doing with my lead magnet. Look at people who have amassed huge followings of fellow readers and really analyze their strategies. And so I think that lead magnet of like, here are the top 10 books you should read if you love X, an amazing way to grow an audience of fellow readers that you're hoping will read your future book.
Okay, I love that so much. That's like the answer to a question I've gotten like this so much, which is like, if you're a musician or a graphic artist, how do you do this without just making content that's me?
Yep.
And so just to like synthesize this back, you're saying like your taste can be the reason people join your audience, even if
Right.
it's just highlight. To take that one step further, what would, like, how do you build a newsletter around that, or how do you nurture people around that? Because that seems like less problem solving based.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And there are definitely going to be verticals that are harder to grow in than others. I remember I was speaking with a very big creator at the start of my journey, and he was like, "Oh, you're doing so well. Like, I could definitely see you growing a business around this." And it is really, really, really hard to sell a large number of books by yourself on social media. Um,
Mm,
Books take off often when other people promote them, which is why it's great. Be part of the community, be part of the community from early on, be generous with your time, support others more than just, speaking about yourself. I know there are some authors, I'm thinking of Brianna, who went out, found We Ship It like the first day it was in stores, posted about it everywhere. And I was like, the second her book comes out, it's going to be promoted to all of my followers. And I'm sure to many other people's too, because she has been such a big supporter of debut authors. I think so often people view debut authors as like they've made it, whatever. So many of us are just sitting like alone in our homes, like looking at our very low book sales and feeling sad the day that our books come out. So the more you can support also self-published authors, anyone who has a book coming out, it's really, really hard. 9 times out of 10, you've climbed to the peak of the mountain and you realize like you're deflated and you don't know what to do next. So support other people. And
mm.
then going back to your question of what to do when they're on your newsletter, I think a lot of it's community building. I know Lauren has a book club, which is awesome. You could be sending out just a review of a book that you read once a month. You don't have to overdo it with the promotion. You just have to provide value to people's lives and remind them that you exist.
I love that. Have you had much luck, or is it something you regularly do, of like newsletter swaps for growth, or that kind of more like community based list growth?
Yeah, I haven't done that yet just because I'm very much like go all in on one area. And so for me, over the past year, that's been Instagram Reels. But I am actually doing a combined event coming up that we haven't promoted yet with a fellow big writer grammar, where we'll both be promoting it and running the workshop together.
Very cool. I was also curious. We're like at a time where like newsletters are super hot, and we're seeing platforms like LinkedIn and stuff release like newsletter tools. but you don't actually own the emails that come from that. Um, do you have any opinions on like still taking advantage of those things, or do you think it like if you don't have a lot of time, that's not a place to focus?
Yeah, let me talk a lot about something I don't know anything about, which is new tools like
Looking for an opinion,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so here's my uninformed opinion. When a tool is new, especially on a big platform, often that platform will boost it. So you're just getting more value than you would otherwise. So it can't hurt to try, but also don't try to do all the things. Don't try to do all the platforms, one platform at a time. And also, when you can, you really, really, really want to own your own subscriber data. So, for instance, TikTok may be gone next year. But even if it isn't gone, when I joined in 2023 and was posting, all of these big creators were like, I get no more views. I used to get all these views and I get none. I was getting a ton of views and I was like, they're just not being unique enough. And then a few
Mm.
months later, all my views went away. And I was like, oh, I get it. This is how they rope you in. So, you could grow these huge followings. You're going to see this all the time. People who have accounts with hundreds of thousands or millions of followers, and their videos have 3 comments on them. And so when you don't own your audience, you've done all this work for free for the app, and your audience could disappear the next day. So, if you're doing something like a new tool on LinkedIn, redirect, redirect, redirect. How do you get people though with limited time to want to go off of a platform or give you their email? You need a really, really, really high value lead magnet.
I love it. Um, I'm not seeing a whole lot of other questions at the moment, so we'll wrap up slowly here. But thank you so much for your time. Whether if you're watching the replay as well, drop your questions in here. Thank you, Safa. I see Awakened Creators, Christina, everyone who's been here. Oh, and Safa has another question, so we'll do that quick. But thank you, everyone, for commenting, being present here. Don't forget to check out the lead magnet that Lauren has is linked in the description as well, and a bunch more valuable resources from Lauren as well. But let's get this other question from Safa. What do you think about the frequency of sharing content on social media to test the type of content that will get engagement, like on Instagram, TikTok, that kind of thing? I'm going to add a second note to this as well of like, do you follow the 80-20 rule of like value to promotion, or how do you balance what kind of content you're posting so you're not just like selling a lead magnet or stuff like that all the time?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So I don't think that there's one right or wrong answer. To me, it's about sustainability and what's truly sustainable. Like sometimes I'll do something and I'll say it's sustainable, but like I'm completely burnt out. Um, and so it is whatever, the frequency is however much where you can still do the rest of your life, do whatever your main focus or passion is, and not be completely burnt out, especially by the screen time. If I'm posting like and making videos all day, like I have lights on right now, I get migraines from that. So
Mm,
you've really got to be honest with yourself about what you can sustain. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. But if I had to throw out a number, I would say 3 to 5 posts. And when you try something, even if it doesn't work, that doesn't mean it failed. Try it again, tweak one thing and try that. And yeah, I think that was it for the question.
Follow up question to that. I think especially if people are early in their process, I've encountered this a lot working with like early creators, that they're very hesitant to like repost something or anything like that. Do you have a cadence of when you'll repost or how you think about that? Because at some point you can't be making new content every single time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and sorry, I didn't get to your 80-20. I will
Oh
say,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I tend to not use, I very, very rarely use social media for any form of direct promotion. I use my email list for that, and social media is all about providing value. But once again, I'm a year into this, so I'm sure there are much more experienced creators who have like exact splits, and they're probably much more successful than I am. But I definitely don't try to promote do too much promotion directly on social media. I think if someone is likely to actually, want to buy something, they're probably going to be on my email list. I just want to use social to provide value and to share lead magnets. And then your next question was my brain today.
I started thinking about that as well. Like reposting
Oh,
cadence.
reposting, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this maybe used to be more successful. I just reposted the video that I shared today. This is, I think, the only video I've ever just completely reposted, and I only reposted it today because I plan on testing it out in an ad, so I had to use different music. In general, I don't repost the same exact thing, but I will, if a piece of content works, I will make a different version of that. And I usually try to space it out at least by a month. I find otherwise, if it's too close, no one wants to hear the same thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah,
yeah, Christina's asking, yeah, does it have to be videos? Hear this a lot.
Mhm.
I would also be curious, like, if someone doesn't want to be doing videos, are there certain platforms you think are more conducive for that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the easiest growth right now, or just like the most bang you're getting for your buck, are reels on Instagram, and they do perform better with your face in it. But it doesn't have to be you talking. You could just record yourself typing at a computer and have text over it. I would say really study your industry, study what kind of videos are working, and then think about what is sustainable for you. What are you good at? What do you enjoy making? If you hate doing it, you just won't do it. And aside from videos, I think photo posts on both TikTok and Instagram as of late on the carousels also have been doing well. So it doesn't have to be videos, but you just want to pay attention. Read things up, read on Reddit, and just look at what's popping up in your feed as well to see what the apps are currently promoting.
How often do you like, how much are you generating totally new content versus, I think especially if you're an author, you have a wealth of like writing and content. Do you pull from your books or stuff like that, or your existing writing to make posts? Because I think, or from your newsletter, I think people think it's like, oh no, I have to start from scratch, everything over.
I don't have the best system for this. I will say most of my content I create like week by week or day by day. And it's a mix of just like when creativity or that vision hits you, and then like stuff that works on these apps. Like if it's easy, it won't work. They just know. And it's because it's not the app, it's people. It's people judging you. So if you're making something that's outdated, even 3 weeks outdated, it just isn't going to get the eyeballs, the likes, the engagement as something that hit you today because it's about something modern and it's using like a new song. Like, and same with like, does it have to be video? Video is a lot harder, but if something is easy, everyone's doing it, and you're just not as likely to take off.
You seem like, I've like scrolled through your Instagrams and kind of studied some of your content too, because you seem like you've really found like a level of joy in making content, which I think kind of unlocks doing that. Was that pretty quick? Is that not the case and you just do a good job of looking like it? Or like how have you found a delight to making content outside of just feeling like you have to do it for your business?
Yeah, I think it's a combo. First and foremost, the community, like the amount of positivity you get. I mean, it feels like you don't deserve it, and it can feel very odd. Like our brains are not wired to accept this many people's comments, either positive or negative. It's the comments, it's the DMs, first and foremost. So I speak with 5 or 10 writers a week who are considering working with one of our editors, and I just get to hop on Zoom and have a one-on-one call like we've had. And that's what really fulfills me. And almost every call, they're like, oh, like I wasn't writing, and then I saw one of your videos, and now I'm 90% done with a book. Or like I spoke with someone the other day who like finally started writing. She used all my resources. She posted about it on TikTok and like got agent reach out. So just
Mm.
hearing those stories, how can I not, love making content? But the other part of it now is the videos that are doing well To me, it's not super joyful recording like this because of the lights and the amount of energy. It's just hard. It's really, you're like your own reality TV star. But making
Yeah.
some B-roll, having that last a month or two, and then the content creation is really just writing. And that's also why I promote this so much to fellow writers. I'm like, I know it seems very like me, and my face and like cringe, but at the end of the day, it's storytelling. And I love reading and I love telling a good story. And I love that you get instant gratification figuring out if the way you told the story was effective, as opposed to things like publishing where nothing is instant. Everything takes months or years.
I I love focusing on that you said that. Like, for me, getting into making content for Teachable and stuff, part of it is just like I'm trying to get better at talking good. Like
Mhm.
you have to
Yep.
so like that's the skill I'm trying to work on and makes it more of a joy. Um, we do have to wrap up here, Lauren. Thank you so much for your time. Everyone who joined in the comments, Christina, Safa, thank you for being here. Pointing out Christina's comment as well. She already grabbed the lead magnet. Make sure to check in the description. Also, if you registered for the event, you'll get those links as well. And Lauren, before we wrap up, just two more questions. One, if you have any final parting advice, and then two, where to learn more from you and find out more about you and what you do.
Yeah, I think my final advice would be if you want to write a really great newsletter, also study newsletters that you love. Subscribe to creators or writers that you love and see what they're doing. And then, so if you are a writer or author, you can follow me at Lauren K. Writes or my website, laurenkWrites.com. And then I have a completely new branch to support creators, freelancers, and small business owners that I launched last month, and that's 100K with LaurenK.com or at 100K with Lauren K. And thank you so much for having me, Jonah.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being here and for sharing with all of us. Thank you, everyone who is watching live, or if you're watching the replay. Once again, drop any comments in there. Let us know something you learned, any questions you still have, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get updates on more events like this. We're going to be bringing more fantastic creators like Lauren to the channel to help you all grow and tackle all the problems of building your own successful business. So, Lauren, I hope you have a wonderful day. Everyone watching, thank you for joining, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks so much.